Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Dialogue. I'm Taimur, Shamil. Pakistani forces in an operation rescued a couple which was kidnapped in Afghanistan 5 years back almost with their 3 children. On Thursday, yesterday, the couple was rescued from Nawakili area of Kohar, and this operation was done by the Pakistani commandos and the Pakistani forces in joint collaboration with the US intelligence. The couple was transported from Afghanistan into Pakistan, and while they were entering Pakistan near the Quram Agency, they were intercepted, and the intelligence reports were shared with the Pakistani authorities. US intelligence reports were shared with the Pakistani authorities, and the Pakistani authorities took action and rescued this couple that was kidnapped from Afghanistan in 2012. Caitlin Coleman, 31, and her husband Joshua Boyle, 33, 31 and 33, they were kidnapped in Afghanistan, and now they have 3 children. This was the couple which was visiting Afghanistan back in 2012. They're called the adventurers, who were visiting Afghanistan once, and they also visited Central Asian states as well. They were later kidnapped in Afghanistan. This is a remarkable, I would say, a new step taken by the US and the Pakistani authorities, and this would also improve the relations between 2 countries. Recently also, a high-level US delegation is visiting Pakistan. They also met Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Hamina Janjwa, yesterday, and also Chief of Army Staff as well, Qamar Bajwa. And they also said that both countries would continue their bilateral relations, and things would improve obviously gradually, since Pakistan and US relations have seen ups and downs in the last couple of months. President Donald Trump, US President Donald Trump, thanked Pakistani authorities, and we'll listen to what President Donald Trump said, what the Prime Minister of Canada said, and also what their parents said and their statements. Take a look at President Trump's statement, and then we'll move on to our discussion on the topic.
Yesterday, the United States government, working with the government of Pakistan, secured the release of Caitlin Coleman, Joshua Boyle, and their 3 children from captivity. And I want to thank Pakistan. We hope to see this type of cooperation and teamwork in helping secure the release of remaining hostages and in our future joint counterterrorism operations.
This was US President Trump, in which he said that they thanked Pakistan for taking action against the culprits and also rescuing the couple. We'll also take a look at what the Prime Minister, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, said about the rescue operation. Have a look.
And we want to thank the friends and allies and partners in the region and around the world who worked so hard to get a positive resolution to this situation. At the same time, we're obviously working very hard to get the family home. At the same time, I'm going to ask people to respect their privacy and understand that they've been through an extremely difficult period right now. But I can certainly say that we're pleased that the ordeal they've been through over these past years has finally come to an end.
Joshua Boyle's parents also thanked the Pakistani authorities for taking action and rescuing their children, Joshua Boyle and Caitlin Coleman. We'll take a look at what they said, and then we'll continue our discussion.
We got a call about 1 o'clock this morning saying that they were going to be over in 5 minutes, and we were told the wonderful news that our family had been rescued. And then 20 minutes later, we were allowed to actually talk with Josh. So that's the first time in 5 years we got to hear his voice. It was amazing, and he told us how much he looked forward to, his children were looking forward to meeting their grandparents, and that he would see me in a couple days. So we're waiting for that.
And today we'd really like to thank the American and Afghan governments, as well as our own Canadian team. Most importantly, this morning we relayed to the High Commissioner of Pakistan here in Canada our profound thanks for the courageous Pakistani soldiers who risked their lives and got all 5 of ours out safely in a rescue. We are expecting them shortly. Given the nature of this morning's rescue, some logistic issues remain. Previous reports indicating that they were in air and en route home were definitely premature.
And thank everybody for all of their prayers and good wishes throughout all 5 years of this. Thank you.
You just heard what US President Donald Trump said, and also what the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the kidnapped couple's parents said about the rescue operation. Pakistan has been fighting extremism and terrorism for a decade or so, and Pakistan has successfully launched several military operations to eliminate the hideouts of terrorist organizations inside Pakistan. It wasn't easy, it was very tough, and Pakistan has lost billions of dollars, innocent lives, in fighting terrorism and extremism. And this is primarily because of what is happening inside Afghanistan. The turmoil situation of Afghanistan, the disturbed situation of Afghanistan has a direct impact on what happens in Pakistan. Pakistan is committed to fighting terrorism and extremism, and yesterday's operation certainly shows that how committed Pakistan is in eliminating the terrorists. We have rescued the couple, Pakistani authorities have rescued the couple, and we also expect that peace would prevail in Afghanistan so that we don't see such kind of incidents anymore in the future. We are also going to discuss about today's developments, yesterday's operation, and also that high-level US delegation is also visiting Pakistan. What would be the impact of this delegation and its meetings with the Foreign Secretary and Chief of Army Staff, as well with our guest today? Let me introduce them. Our first guest is Brigadier retired Taimur Sultan. He's a senior renowned defense analyst. Welcome to the program. Second guest is Mr. Humayun Khan. He is a foreign policy expert, a political analyst, and an instructor at National Defense University. Welcome to the program, Mr. Humayun. Brigadier Taimur Sultan talking about yesterday's operation in which this couple and their 3 children were rescued by the Pakistani forces. The reports are that United States and the intelligence, US intelligence, they shared their intelligence report with the Pakistani authorities, and this couple was transported from Afghanistan into Pakistan, and while they were entering the Quram agency, they were intercepted, and then the action was taken by the Pakistani authorities. What do you make out of this whole rescue operation, yesterday's rescue operation?
Well, let me first take this opportunity in congratulating the couple, their parents, and the governments of Canada and USA for having kind words for the security forces in Pakistan finally. Let me tell you an interesting thing about this kidnapping. My friend Tariq Azizuddin, the ambassador in Afghanistan, was kidnapped, and he happens to be from 45th PMA, which is my course, and he was an ADC with Bhutto, and then later inducted into the Foreign Office. You know, when these guys kidnap you, they sell you from one party to the other, like a Corolla, like any other commodity. The kidnappers, so to say, are not that wealthy, so it goes from wealthier people to the wealthier people.
From one group to another.
From one group to the other, and that's why the locations keep shifting and all that. But because it is the price keeps getting increased as they become more secure, as the commodity is as precious as the Canadian, the American citizens. Plus, I want to tell you some of the things related to it. Number one, that all this while that they were kidnapped from 2012 onwards till date, they were supposedly in Afghanistan, and it is true that the American intelligence was tracking them, and they did not have sufficient or reasonable military power or security forces in order to get them free. So when they came in,
free there in Afghanistan.
While they were in Afghanistan.
Right.
So obviously they did not trust the security forces that be in that area. So when they entered Pakistan, they said they know about Pakistan military and its capabilities. Otherwise they would not have risked their citizens. So it is very significant to note that as soon as they entered, as soon as they were within the reach of Pakistani forces this side of the Durand line, they requested us. And another thing that you must make out is how effective is the CIA in the area. You see, I am not sure whether it is the ISI who told the CIA or the CIA told the ISI.
It was joint operation.
But it looks as if though the American embassy over here in Islamabad knew the movement of the kidnapped personnel, and they cooperated with that. I think it is a good beginning to the visit of Tillerson and Mattis, expected visit of the U.S. Defense Secretary and Secretary of State over here, and plus the delegation over here. A lot has gone since the statement of President Trump on South Asian policy.
That's right.
And the Americans have seen Pakistan's stance. We have seen the American stance. And a lot has been said, a lot of statements have been passed by the leadership of both the countries. And I think there is some ground. The situation is better now compared to when the South Asian policy was announced by President Trump.
We're going to discuss the South Asian policy in detail, but after this point, this short point of yesterday's rescue operation, Humayun, do you also see this operation, yesterday's operation, as a cooperation between two intelligence agencies, the American intelligence agencies and the Pakistani intelligence agencies, and also that this point is very interesting of Mr. Tipu Sultan, that they couldn't take action while they were there in Afghanistan, only when they enter Pakistan, because things are more predictable, because they have better relations perhaps with the Pakistani authorities. How do you see it?
I guess it's also very good news for the family and their relatives. And finally, a few good words for the efforts of our soldiers and our military. The American president congratulated our forces as well and thanked them for this particular action. This was also very important symbolically as well, in a way, that whenever there is a joint coordination or a coordinated operation between the two countries or intelligence agencies, the results are always very good. And one of the reasons we have been seeing failure in the past on the border areas in Afghanistan and in Pakistan as well was the American lack of sharing of their intelligence with us and still blaming us for a lot of things. And this also signifies, as what Brigadier Tipu Sultan mentioned, that the Pakistani forces are recognized in the world in terms of their efforts and sacrifices, what they have done, and in terms of the professional capabilities that they have. You know, these hostage situation is very delicate situation. It's not like you are only attacking a terrorist outlet or a place where they are. There were like 5 lives which were involved. And the trust which was entrusted on the Pakistani security forces also signifies the fact that, you know, this is one of the most professional armies here, and in particular harsh area of that area where this operation was conducted.
Never kill you of Kohari.
This was very, very, very significant, and recognition has been given duly. It is also a good beginning for a new beginning. I would say it's a very symbolic thing that a joint operation was conducted because the lives of a Canadian and American national was involved. But a good beginning, because recently there's 2 days ago a very high level delegation is visiting here and discussing post Donald Trump South Asia policy and the statements that he has given, in which he was not very sure about how Pakistan fare well in his future strategy of Afghanistan. But this particular action and then many other actions to come in future also would signify that Pakistan has to be one of the most important element in any situation which will arise in Afghanistan, a peaceful solution between Taliban and the Afghan government and other regional players. So this is a very, very good beginning, I would say.
Right. We just discussed about the President Trump's statement. They thanked Pakistan, President Trump, Prime Minister Trudeau and the parents, but also one interesting statement by President Trump, and that was the Pakistani government's cooperation is a sign that it is honoring America's wish that it do more to provide security in the region. So this idea, this phrase of do more is still there. While Pakistani authorities and the US authorities as well, they're trying their best to improve relations and work out on the issues that are there in Afghanistan and Pakistan. This statement, how do you see this?
Pakistan has been extending the hand to the Americans to share the intelligence and to return certain terrorists which are operating from Afghanistan, and tell them that since 40% of the rural Afghanistan is not controlled either by the Americans or the foreign forces or the Afghan the government. Therefore, they need to do something about the control of the Durand line and the forces operating across Durand line into Pakistan. There have been many operations that have been conducted by the Afghan Taliban into Pakistan from across. So I think it is Pakistan which needs the sharing of the intelligence much more than any other nation, because we are affected more than any other country. We are affected more than Afghanistan. We have been a victim of terrorism, and we have been fighting terrorism over decades. And our armed forces have fought terrorism like no other nation has done so far. So I think it's a good beginning, and it's a good omen, should I say. The Americans want to tread onto the cooperation policy,
Right.
and they realize that that the cooperation is more significant than anything else, rather than listening to the Indians and insinuating to us that we have to do more and that. Let's do more together. And Pakistan has offered the Americans, let's have a joint action against the Haqqanis.
A couple of weeks back, Chief of Army Staff also said, Commander Bajwa, that it's also time for the world to do more in Afghanistan. So that is also very, I would say, relevant to the do more mantra perhaps.
I think the Western forces have had a bit in Afghanistan of bombing and fighting, which has not paid them. The NATO has got since packed up, gone. The Americans want to research from 4,000 to 12,000. They used to have 100,000 troops over there which could do nothing. Well, the most effective force that they retain over there is the drone and the US Air Force. But any sane man would tell you, you look at what Karzai had to say about a week back on the US role in ISIS and the presence of ISIS there in 3 provinces. Why he said that was because the Taliban basically have ruled Afghanistan before 9/11, and the Daesh strategy is different than the Taliban, and the Afghan leadership feels that if the control shifts towards the Daesh or ISIS, they will have very difficult negotiation prospects compared to what it is now. And then you see, if you destroy the leadership, one thing is very sure, that the Afghan solution lies at the heart of negotiation, at the heart of a well-represented government across the turf of Afghanistan.
Okay, we will continue.
So
we'll continue on that point. But then one question to Humayun. We did this operation together with the US intelligence. This was a joint operation. They shared their intelligence with us, and we took the action. Can we do this same thing in tracking down the terrorists who attack innocent Pakistanis inside Pakistan? Can we do that when we also have information that Umar Khurasani of Jamaatul Ahrar is operating in Lalpura, Nangarhar province? TTP's leaders are there in Afghanistan. So we can rescue the American-Canadian couple. But can we also act against those terrorists who operate near the Pakistan-Afghanistan border?
I guess absolutely. There has to be a cooperation if we need to find any solution to this particular conflict. There are 2 particular things which I want to mention in this and the previous question as well, in which Donald Trump said that Pakistan was honoring the wish which he has already elaborated in his previous policy to do more. I guess it wasn't the case that we are now succumbing to the pressure. We are continuing to cooperate, which we were earlier doing that as well. There are a couple of worries and issues on the Pakistani side as well. One of the most significant issues that Pakistani military and civilian leadership has raised with the Afghan and the American one is the management of the border. And that was one of the prime reason you would see the success in this particular operation, that we have to manage it jointly. And if there is cooperation on that side, we would have a successful outcome. Exactly this particular case should apply on the Afghanistan side as well. There is a leadership of BLA, there is a leadership of TTPs in Afghanistan. We have given a list of 70 terrorists in the past to the Afghan government, that you have to capture these people as well. And if there is a joint cooperation between both the countries, I guess we would have a positive output to this particular conflict. So I guess this could be done, but depends if the Afghan government has the will and if the NATO forces who are operating in Afghanistan has the will to cooperate with the Pakistani side as well.
But this statement of do more and another statement, they worked very hard. This is what President Trump said. talking about Pakistani authorities, they've worked very hard on this, and I believe they're starting to respect the US again. So we were respecting the US already. The US was respecting us as well. But don't you think such kind of statements also put a question on how we are, taking action against these terrorists? And as if that we are working under any US pressure.
No, I guess one should ignore at the same time the way Donald Trump gives his statement or tweets on daily basis, or even at night when he tweets in the morning. This does not really reflect the policy of the US government as such. There are Department of Defense, there's CIA, there's State Department, and this is exactly what we are now witnessing, that the senior US departmental leadership which is here from the State Department, Department of Defense and other agencies who are now visiting Pakistan and who are, as Brigadier Tipu was saying, visiting next month or next week, they know better. They are the professionals who are dealing with this issue. Donald Trump, in his aggressive tone at times, says things which is not reflective of the overall real policy. He gives statement as a politician, but the real policy is given by the bureaucrats and the diplomats as well. So I wouldn't take his policy.
Technical point, by the way, yeah. I would really appreciate this point. But this statement that, Brigadier Sahab, that let's not discuss about what US President said for a while. Let's focus on what the two authorities and the officials are doing to improve the relations. Would you agree with this? That can we ignore the US President's remarks?
What is he doing in the White House? He's a very interesting man, let me tell you that. He fumbles and rumbles and has some funny tweets, but he's a different president. Given the fact that the more serious US presidents, the policy might be seeming to flow from them. But the fact of the matter is that he has changed the US direction quite a bit in the world. The world is confused. It is not because of Mattis or Tillerson that the direction has been changed. It has been because of the insinuations that Trump has been making. So when you stir the whole situation, something new comes out.
But don't you think that these statements also put the officials, US officials, in a very difficult situation while they're dealing with other countries?
Well, dealing with the other countries, if they have a different signal from President Trump that my Secretary of State is wasting time, so either it is planned or something else. But what I think is that since you cannot reinforce a failure, you cannot tread on the same policy that has failed in Afghanistan so far as the United States is concerned. So they need to change the policy in order to revisit it and have some different strategy. And if they have some different strategy, I hope that they have that in mind. Right. Is fighting is not done any dividend to them. So therefore, I think the stage is set for Pakistan. It is how well Pakistan is prepared to brief the two visiting American officials, the very significant gentlemen that are going to visit. How well are we prepared? Number two, let me also say that from Pakistani angle also, I think Khwaja Asif as a foreign minister is doing well. I mean, there are statements that he made which created controversy. But I think if you look at the previous time and bygone time where Nawaz Sharif had the Kalam Daan of Wazarat-e Kharja and did nothing, something is happening.
Recently, you appreciate the way the Foreign Minister has given a very clear message.
The Prime Minister, I think Prime Minister's performance at the United Nations, Malia Lodi coupled with that, and our diplomat gave rebuttal to the Indians, is a very significant thing, and the Americans have noticed it. And we know that they have noticed the change of stance and the defiance of Pakistan to the announced US South Asian policy. So I think these negotiations are going to be very significant behind closed doors, and Pakistan needs to prepare for it, and Pakistan needs to have a pragmatic, wholesome dialogue with the Americans in order to get what it is. Pakistan has got many troubles. Pakistan has got troubles from inside. Pakistan has got trouble from Afghanistan. Right. Pakistan is troubled by its economy. Pakistan is troubled by India. Right. So we have got many problems to discuss with the Americans. The Americans remain to be a very, very powerful country, although the power centers of the world are changing to China, to Russia, to other places. But the fact of the matter is that the Americans are still very effective globally. and we cannot ignore
Obviously,
them.
we'll work together in future in Afghanistan as well. We'll continue our discussion on this point, and also a high-level U.S. delegation headed by Lisa Curtis, Deputy Assistant to President and National Security Council Senior Director of South Asia, is visiting Pakistan along with other U.S. officials. They met Secretary Foreign Affairs Taimur Janjwa and Chief of Army Staff Qamar Javed Bajwa as well. We'll discuss about this latest development as well in the backdrop of what is happening in Afghanistan and the rescue operation, and also Pakistan-US relations after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. We are discussing Pakistan and US relations. A high-level US delegation is visiting Pakistan, as I said before the break. We're going to discuss about their visit to Pakistan and their meetings with Taimur Janjwa, Pakistan's Foreign Secretary, and also with the Chief of Army Staff, Mr. General Qamar Javed Bajwa. We have our correspondent, Shabir Wagra, with us on telephone call. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Mr. Wagra, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Right. This high-level US delegation is visiting Pakistan, and they had meetings with the Chief of Army Staff and also with the Foreign Secretary. Tell us about their visit.
Yes, Taimur, that was basically a first significant and high-level visit of any U.S. delegation after the President Trump's new Afghanistan and South Asian policy. And there was a lot of developments which took place in between. There was a lot of ifs and buts about the relationships, especially Pakistan's reservations on the policy, and afterward India's role in Afghanistan, which US was propagating. And during yesterday's extensive talks in Foreign Office, there's multiple things came under discussion, especially on Pakistan's reservations regarding India's role in Afghanistan. Then they also discussed extensively bilateral relations, and then they agreed on that they should continue this dialogue process and especially engagement at the highest level. And due to that, it is expected that later this month there will be a visit of U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, and then that would be followed by Secretary of Defense James Mattis' visit. These two high-level visits are also have been chalked out during this visit. Except this, it was also decided that both the countries will play their vital role, especially by the revival of QCG, which the next session of QCG after almost absence of 2 years taking place in Oman on 16th of October. So they also decided that they will facilitate this reconciliation process, because this QCG, they will decide that how they can re-engage the reconciliation process for Afghanistan and the peace in Afghanistan. Then both the countries also decided that the intelligence sharing, which would be very grateful, helpful, and the best example of actionable intelligence sharing is the recent recovery of abducted U.S. and Canadian citizens, which U.S. has given intelligence to Pakistani side. That was basically precise intelligence about the movement of their movement inside Afghanistan. Basically, they have informed our security forces that this type of movement is going on, and on that precise intelligence, our forces have conducted the operation, successful operation, which was praised not only by the families but also President Trump and the Secretary of State in their statements. So this particular engagement between the two countries, especially yesterday's delegation level talks, have multifaceted topics like Afghanistan, then the regional situation, and then bilateral mechanism of bilateral engagements and high-level engagements between the two countries.
Right, Mr. Shabir Wagra, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time. Right, Humayun, the U.S. delegation is visiting Pakistan, and they, as I said, they met the Pakistani officials as well. How do you see this visit? Also, looking at the situation in Afghanistan, Pakistan-U.S. relations, and the recent operation at Kohat. How do you see this?
This is a high-level visit after the recent President Trump's policy on South Asia. There were a few other level visits before as well. For the very first time, Pakistan has also taken this stance against this U.S. mantra of do more, that we had enough. Foreign Minister was in United States of America, and he had given clear signals that, you know, if you need cooperation, you have to cooperate as well. You cannot just blame us for all the follies that you have committed with 150,000 soldiers there, and now you expect to do the same more with another 15 or 20,000. So in this particular regard, we felt a little, again, betrayed by the Americans that, you know, after sacrificing so many soldiers, civilians, and other people in Pakistan, $121 billion, which recently Prime Minister has mentioned in the Union General Assembly, of the economic losses that we have. We were blamed for something which a lot of other countries needed to take the blame for. But finally, what we have done is we have given them this clear signals that, you know, if you want to cooperate, you have to listen to us as well. And you have to see this particular phenomena that after 17 years or 16 or 17 years of war, finally they are still saying that, you know, we need to bring Taliban on the table. And for that, Pakistan has initiated this efforts in QCG, which American last time left, and when Chinese took the initiative, they didn't want to join it again. But now, after this particular recent policy, they wanted to join that again and wanted to find a reasonable solution to this Afghanistan quagmire. And for that, Pakistan is one of the most important actors, which is playing a very significant role as well. And their sacrifices has been accepted. And this particular visit, I guess, is a continuation of that they are realizing that Pakistan can do more. And instead of pressurizing or giving threats to Pakistan, they need to get engaged with them. And we have seen that the engagement which was recently shared with the actionable intelligence that you have shared, we have good concrete results. So not only on this particular aspect, but even in future strategy, we need to share information with each other. We need to engage regional players. And this particular time, the Foreign Secretary and Army Chief General Bajwa has given this clear message to the American that you don't have to see Pakistan from a prism of a third country, which is India. You know, if you want to solve a problem in Afghanistan, you don't have to see Pakistan from the Indian prism that, you know, we have issues with India and India has issues with us. We are an independent sovereign nation and we have a very significant role to play in Afghanistan. And this was a very clear message which was given to the this delegation.
And practically, Brigadier Saab, you have also given a clear message, and that is that Khwaja Asif visited China, later he visited Iran, then he went to meet Secretary Tillerson, Chief of Army Staff General Bajwa, and the Foreign Secretary, Ms. Tahmina. They visited Afghanistan. They met President Ashraf Ghani over there. And now the delegation is here, the US delegation, which was also supposed to visit Pakistan once, but it was delayed on Pakistan's request that we were looking at the situation in Pakistan as well. So that was also a message. And now this meeting. So we have done our homework in the region as well. We have been meeting China, we have been meeting Iran, the Afghan forces, the Afghan authorities as well. How do you see this whole development from the Pakistani side, our diplomacy in the region, and now this meeting, yesterday's meeting with the officials?
Taimur, the stakes are high for the regional countries as well as the Western countries too. America has got an interest in this region because of Central Asia and the proximity to the Gulf, etc. Plus, it wants to exert itself and still stay as a viable superpower. Chinese have got a regional developmental and connectivity interests. The Russians are taking interest in there, the Iranians are. And incidentally, you see, the Iranians said that they want to benefit from the CPEC, whereas the Americans are denying it because they don't want Chinese perhaps to develop in this region.
And General Mattis' statement as well, right?
They said something on South Asia, and then Pakistan said something, and then few weeks passed. And I think the ground has been set sufficiently for the negotiation and meaningful dialogue with the Americans. And the Americans also understand that. And they do understand the Pakistani problem, but they have got mercantile interest in India. They want to appease the Indians also, but it would not work. You know, like my colleague over here has said that the Pakistanis want that the situation in South Asia should not be seen through the prism of Indians, what they think. You see, we have Af-Pak policy. They connect us with Afghanistan. We are an independent nuclear power, and we have something to do of our own. So therefore, Pakistan has been trying to collect China, Russia, and other people into the fold for negotiations. Previously, unfortunately, whenever there were negotiations, the TTP chiefs were killed, like Baitullah Masood, Waliur Rahman, Mullah Akhtar Mansoor, etc., by the Americans. So the dialogue went nowhere. But I think the Americans have come to realize that after the opening of office in Doha and the statements coming from their own diplomats, that Afghan solution lies in negotiations. And the biggest stumbling block in negotiation is that there is virtually no representation of Pashtuns in the Afghan government. Well, they said Hizb-e Islami of Gulbuddin Ikbandiyar, they took that organization into fold to sort of balance that, but they have failed so far. I think the situation is that Pakistan would be better off in telling the Americans, look, if the situation goes from the TTP to the ISIS or Daesh, so to say, and if it is dreadful to note, I hope it is not true, what Karzai had said, that the Americans are funding and aiding the Daesh in Afghanistan. If that be so, I think the Americans would need to put their own house in order instead of telling us to put our house in order. Our house is in order. We have got to sweep something. We've got to do something more inside. But look internationally and strategically what the Americans have to do, what the West has to do, what the Afghan government has to do, is to put their own house in order and recognize that they do not control 40% of the rural terrain of Afghanistan, and therefore the forces that they control these areas, they need to enter into negotiation with them, because there is no military solution to that, and then they need to have a widely based representative government in Afghanistan in order to bring political stability over there. And then the question of Durand line, I already mentioned that we have started to fence that. It's a porous system. We've got Afghan refugees over here. They go across the border. They come back also. We have got people sitting in Afghanistan which we want that they should be returned to Pakistan. I think we should be asserting that.
Looking at Pakistan-US relations, Mr. Humayun, in the wake of the official statements made by the United States, is perhaps to some experts a little confusing. Mr. Tillerson, when he met Pakistan's Foreign Minister Khwaja Asif, he said that Pakistan and the United States would work together and that the relations are improving and Pakistan is a reliable ally and we are working together in Pakistan. But General Mattis is saying something else about China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC specifically, that it passes through disputed territory. Recently, today, after yesterday's operation, Mr. Trump said something about do more and also that they have started respecting us. Contradictory statements by General Mattis saying something else, US President Trump is saying something else, and the State Department, which is otherwise doing an excellent job in Pakistan and elsewhere, but the statements are contradictory. Don't you think that this also creates confusion in the Pakistan-US relations, and also when these statements and these messages are received and perceived inside Pakistan by the masses, by the people as well?
Absolutely. This is one of the reasons that we are seeing South Asia as a complex region. Afghanistan, a continuation of Afghan and American bad policies, and the reason why it is so, because of this confusion within the American administration. We would see confusion from our point of view. Maybe they are not confused and they have their own particular agendas there. One thing is that within Afghanistan, they don't know how to have a proper solution of Afghanistan. So what they have done in the recent policy of Donald Trump, that they have given India more than its due share in Afghanistan. Within Indian Ocean, they are promoting India more than other players as well. When it comes to CPEC or Belt and Road Initiative, they are giving very confusing statements. Although they were part of the Beijing summit, but after that they are giving these statements which reflects their confusion about the rise of China and their loosening of the grip on power in certain parts of the world. General James Mattis' statement about CPEC, particularly that it is passing through disputed territory, I would see it from two particular angles. One is that they have a very confused and an Indian prism strategy vis-a-vis Pakistan. Whatever India says, they just take it and then they are trying to impose that on Pakistan. But on a positive side, if we see this particular statement, I would say it's a diplomatic victory on the Pakistani side, because we have been saying for a very long time that Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan, it's part of Kashmir, is a disputed territory according to the UN resolution. And India has always been claiming this particular part as its own. Now, an American Secretary of Defense says that it's a disputed territory. From the Chinese side, the version is, even let's say hypothetically, if it's a disputed territory, we are not investing in any military installation. We are doing on developmental work which will help the people of that particular region. So China is trying to have an approach which is very optimistic, which involves development and other issues. Whereas America and all of this confusion which you have just mentioned is creating more confusion in the region. They are either trying to solve issue of Afghanistan, they are creating more problems for India and Pakistan. This issue, this particular policy of Belt and Road, and particularly CPEC, is a developmental regional connectivity issue, which is something good for the region. As Brigadier Tipu was mentioning, Iran has offered or shown its willingness to join it. Saudi Arabia has shown its willingness. Other Central Asian countries have shown its willingness. So if all the regional countries would like to join that, why would you like to make it a controversial issue? So this is a confusion which American administration has for a long time, which results in more confusion in Afghanistan and South Asia.
Right. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us.
Just a word of caution. This good incident of getting the American Canadian couple out of the terrorist clutches, it's a good thing, but we should not totally base our thing, and lest we are again accused by the Americans. We should not be too optimistic. Let's see how it develops. And then the instrument of accession of Gulab saying that included territories east of River Indus, not Gilgit, Hunza, Baltistan was never a part of Kashmir, which falsely acceded to India according to that false document that they keep showing.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining us, Brigadier Tipu Sultan. Pleasure having you on the program. Humayun, thank you for joining us. Always a pleasure having you on the program. Today we discussed about Pakistan's and US relations, and also yesterday's rescue operation. We also hope that the rescue operation, yesterday's rescue operation, speaks volumes about the cooperation between the Pakistani and the US authorities and the intelligence shared by the US authorities. We also expect that this cooperation and collaboration would be used to eliminate the terrorist who have been targeting innocent Pakistanis from Afghanistan as well. We also expect that the action should be taken against those terrorists who have their safe havens in Lalpura district of Nangarhar, the heads of Jamaatul Ahrar, the heads of TTP as well, and also we expect to see peace and stability in Afghanistan. Thank you for watching today's program. See you next time. Khuda Hafiz.